Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make a one-layer card. We're going to use stencils, masks, we're going to do some blending, we're going to do some overstamping, and hopefully you will learn how to make a scene and how to use your tools a little bit more effectively by the time we're done today. This video is brought to you by Rubber Stamp Tapestry. They have some really great deals going on right now. They have 90 sets on sale for 40% off, so don't miss out on that deal. Also, 35% off crafting goodies, and if you use the coupon code FREESHIP75, orders over $75 will ship for free, and all of the Frugal Crafter fans get a free mini mistletoe stamp, and it's not even something they normally sell. It's a brand spanking new one that's not even on their site, and that will be with any size purchase. So even if you just go and find one stamp set for 40% off that you love, you still get that free mistletoe stamp. So they're sharing the love with the Frugal fans. I love that. So we're going to start off with just a basic quarter sheet of cardstock, or you can work on the front of a folded card. The only thing is we're going to be doing a lot of stamping, so the back of the card might get dirty. Mine stayed fine. Well, something that helps me not get ink on the back of my my card is working on a newsprint pad like this here. You could also use a stack of newspapers or an old phone book and just tear away sheets as they get dirty. But I find by working on newsprint, because it's such an absorbent paper, it sucks in the ink and then it just dries instantly, so it doesn't smear on the back of my card. So somebody had just asked me that the other day, and I thought that is a great tip to share. You're going to want some colored pencils. It doesn't matter what brand you use. We're going to be using these to color some objects so that they're opaque and they come forward. And we're going to use a variety of different inks and a variety of different peg stamps. And I'm kind of using these stamps in ways they weren't intended to, so it just gives us a little bit more versatility. I'm going to set this off camera for a bit so I have a little more room to work. Now I'm using some larger stamps, and these come from the Rubber Stamp Tapestry sets, and I'm going to show you here. This pot came from this set. You could use this bicycle to go along with it if you want, but I preferred the bicycle on this set because it just looks a little bit more hand-drawn and vintage. I really like that. And I totally forgot I wanted to use that little shrub there, so I have got that one ready in case I decide to use it on this project. I love these unmounted stamps. And to store mine, I put tack it over and over on the back, and then I just stick it to the packaging. And these are nicely deeply edged stamps, so they do stamp really, really well. Alright, so we're going to put our paper down here, and I'll leave that one there. Actually, I'm going to put it underneath it because I'm likely to shove that into an ink pad if I don't, just so we can see it. Now, the thing you need to do ahead of time is get some cheap typing paper, and you can either hand cut, use a stencil, or use your die cutter, and cut a shape out of it. It could be an oval, it could be a square, it could be an arch. It doesn't matter. You just want a shape, and you want to keep that. And we're going to save both pieces because we're going to use both pieces here. The other thing you're going to do to prepare is take that. I just took one piece of typing paper, took the other half of the typing paper here, and I cut a wavy line on the edge. We're going to use that as a stencil or a mask, and I tore one edge, so that way I'm going to be able to get the edge for my my little driveway or path, and then I can make some hills and my sky. I can do this all with just this little mask here. Alright, so now that you've got that all ready, you probably want to have a post-it note handy because you will want to mask off little areas when you stamp, but that's pretty much it. Now, since my paper is bigger than my card, I did this so that I wouldn't end up getting ink anywhere I don't want to. I am going to just stick my cardstock down on this paper with a little bit of painter's tape so it won't rip my card. You don't need much, just to tack it down there. And I die cut it a little crooked, so that's why I'm using my guidelines to make sure that when I take my mask off, because it is kind of a fancy frame shape, I'm not going to have it on there lopsided, hopefully. We can hope. And now we're going to do some inking, and I'm using an ink blending brush. I'm going to start here. I think I'll use this portion of my mask. Maybe make the sky up a little bit more so I have a little more ground room there. And I'm using a color duster blending brush. And Rubber Stamp Tapestry has been stocking these. I'm not sure if they're in stock. You guys cleaned them out last time, so so if they're not in stock, you know, just look around, see if you have like a, you know, floofy stiff brush that you can use. Some people told me that they've used their makeup brushes before, which they have much softer bristles, but use whatever works good for you is fine. I like it that I get a much softer look than when I use a makeup sponge or a sponge blender. I just find that I get a much more uniform look like this. You also want to save the piece you cut off. Okay, we use that to kind of protect areas. So now I'm going to move this over so I get like a different kind of hill shape there. I'm going to set that on top to protect my my space there. Hopefully I line that up fairly well. It looks a little off, but I think that's how it was. Good enough. And now I'm going to use my green brush here, and I'm going to put in some green in that little gap there. We only need to use this top piece for our first part because we want to keep the colors separate. I don't want green in my sky there. Now this brush probably could use to be clean because you can see I'm getting a lot of texture with that. I'm getting those bristle marks. But since this is grass, I decided I would keep it. I would go with it. And I just think it's because it's so saturated. And maybe, I don't know if I got this one secondhand or firsthand. This might have gotten into a pigment ink pad or something at some point, so that would make it a little stiffer. But honestly, I think it's just because it has a lot of ink in it. And I don't care if it's really crisp where the sky and the grass meet, because it would be a little hazier and out of focus that far away. And I do have a little bit of a gap there, so I am going to take that blue and just try to soften that a little bit, because I don't want to, really don't want a gap up there. I might stamp something up there, but just soften that a little bit. Okay, very forgiving. So now I'm going to slide this down a little bit more, and I'm going to do some more green. And I don't need to mask off that other green. It's just a fun technique. You could do this in the sky with like a punched scallop shape and do clouds. And it'll go like that. Let me slide it over a little bit more. And then you actually make the edge of the crest above it a little more defined because that gets another layer of ink on it too. So it just, I think it looks really nice. And you just keep adding ink until you're happy with what you have. And now for the ground, I want the ground to be a little rougher, so I'm going to use the torn edge here. I think I'm going to re-tear that actually, because I feel like it's just not, I want it a little straighter across rather. So I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to go back in with the green. Actually, I'm going to bring it up just a smidgen. And I think actually while I'm at it, before I go and do anything to the little road or path, wherever our bike is parked, before I do anything else to that, I think I'm going to go ahead and grab this fern stamp and stamp some ferns in there. And I'll go with both the color that I used in the background and some, what's this, bamboo leaves or bamboo stock. Let's give us a little edge to our ground a little bit more. We have a lot of fern-lined paths in Maine. I think that's kind of pretty. And I just keep tapping it off, and that kind of softens my stamping a little bit. Okay. Let's see what we got there. Great. So now what we're going to do is take this other piece that I just tore, and I'm going to try to match it up. Match it up here. I think it was, yeah, it was this side. But where it tears like the layers in like a little differently, so you have to, the tearing doesn't match up quite as well as the cutting. And now I'm going to go in with some gray and another color duster. You could do brown if you want like a dirt path or a dirt road, but I'm gonna do gray today. I usually use brown, so there's something a little different. Now you don't want to put any colored pencils in while you're doing this layer, because once you put colored pencil down, it protects whatever's underneath it. So any colored pencil we do, it's going to come like as one of our last steps. Do our stamping first. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now we're going to do some stamping, and we're going to stamp our biggest thing first, which is our bicycle. And I'm going to use a black ink. Any black dye-based ink is going to be fine for this. And any white cardstock is going to be fine for this. This is, I think this is like the Walmart white cardstock. Anything that would be suitable to use in your home printer will work good for dye inks. Okay, so I'm gonna stamp this over to the left a little bit more because I want to have room for this plant pot. Because otherwise it looks like it's going down the road with no driver, and that's a little off-putting. So I thought, well, we'll get a little, let's put a little plant pot in there so it looks like it's part of a display on the edge of somebody's driveway. My neighbor does pretty floral displays like that. She's got an old bike that she uses for display. It's really pretty. So that way we can kind of put that where we want it. I got some loose hairs on that from some of these color dusters. It doesn't hurt anything. You don't want to paint with a brush that loses hairs, but it doesn't really matter for the for inking. Okay, so I also thought I wanted to put little critters in here because I'm thinking, okay, this is probably like on somebody's farm, and wouldn't that be cute to have some chickens and things running around? So I think, I know I'm gonna have flowers there. So let's see, I could even put the chicken like hopped on top of the bike. That would be kind of cute. I'm gonna try that. This may be a terrible mistake, but you never know unless you try, right? I'm looking at my registration mark. So we've got our little line there that tells us where our chickie poo is going to be standing, and I'm just going to very carefully, oops, I think I double stamped. I think I touched it down too early, but oh, that's all right. We got a little chicken up there on the seat, and then let's have the little baby chicks kind of saying, "What are you doing, Ma? What you doing up there?" Maybe we'll put our little chicks over here. I didn't do that on the other one, but I think that might be kind of cute. Ma, what are you doing? And we can add yellow on top, and that will make them stand out a little bit. So we got our curious little chicklets over here. We'll have some kind of maybe going off there. And oh, okay, so teachable moment. I've got way too much rubber on there, and see how I got it in the ink and then I accidentally smeared it there. Nothing to really worry about. I can fix that, but what I'm going to do is show you how I trim that. So I just wiped off the extra ink. These are KAI scissors. They're meant for trimming rubber. So what I'm going to do is just peel that back a little bit there, okay? Gonna get my scissors, and I am going to just get in there and snip that right off. And I'm angling my scissors so that I am kind of cutting it at an angle. I want it to kind of go up like a mountain on the sides, okay? Just be careful not to get your image. Just take off the excess rubber, okay? So there, it's going to be a lot easier to stamp this. I'll show you here. I'm going to stamp this on the background. See? Even if I rock it and roll it, it's not going to leave me a line like that. So that's kind of nice. I should have done that before. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But I didn't. But now I did, so now you can see. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, I do have a little piglet that I want to put in there, but we're going to hold off on the piglet because I need to get some of my things stamped before I go too much further. I think it doesn't matter if at this point I could color in with the colored pencils if I wanted to, but I'm just going to hold off and get all my stamping done. I'm going to stick this, and it doesn't actually, well, I'm going to just to keep it neat, but since we're doing colored pencils over the basket, if I did accidentally stamp on the basket, it really wouldn't make that big of a difference because, oh, this one I could trim a little bit too, because colored pencils are opaque and they won't really, they'll cover up a lot of that. But let's just, let's try to be neat. So we don't have to do too much fixing if we don't want to. This will make our, our little leaves look like they're coming out of the basket instead of like, you know, hovering over. I love this petunia. I think it's a petunia. It's really pretty. I think I'm going to do that in some nice like plummy fuchsia color. Look at my registration mark to make sure I'm getting that where I want it. That's pretty. And I think there's also this really pretty, I'll list all of the stamp sets I used in the video description. I know I'm going through them pretty quickly, and I know you're probably you're gonna try to find some of your favorites. But boy, 90 sets are on sale. That's crazy. I mean, I know they have a big selection, but wow, that's a lot of stamps. Hope you guys find what you want. Maybe one more of those up here. That's really pretty. Okay, and I like this little, I like to put some like little filler things in there. And I thought this was cute. I think this one, this is from near the reef, so it's actually a type of seaweed. But I thought it was really pretty, and so I'm gonna put some of that in there too, because I just think it's a nice little filler. I can even like mask an area there if I want to get it in there, but I'm afraid that I'm going to get it over something I don't want it to. Okay, so now we've got this little guy down here. we're gonna put some things in there. I'm gonna start right off with that petunia. I like the petunias, but they can get buried really easily. So I'm gonna start off with that. Get that in there before I go in with any leaves. I like these big leaves here, but I have to be careful because they are so big. And they're kind of, it's kind of hard to nestle them around without overshadowing other things. I want a little leaf. I'm just going to go into my little box. I grabbed this one from Plentiful Harvest. I love how well these go together. I mean, I've got tons of sets in my box here, and they all just work so well together. Get some of these in there. I like this. This one's from Azalea Terrace. That's a really pretty set. Get that in there. Maybe one up a little bit higher. And I think I might just doodle a few other things into that one as well. Okay, now I'm ready to do some colored pencil work. So I think I might zoom in a little bit for that since you don't need to see me going after the ink. There we go. And I'm going to start off with a bike. I think the bicycle will look really good in a nice like cherry red color. So I'm going to go in and color any of the metal parts. You will need to keep a pretty sharp pencil for this. And you do want to press fairly firmly because you want it to be opaque. And you can see, I can see my black lines through there, but the color is so robust that that you can clearly see it on top of the non-black stamping in the background, which is what I'm kind of going for here. Now I'm going to go in with some black, and I'm going to get the tires and the seat. We had chickens for the longest time, and they would perch on anything. They didn't, when they were little, some of them flew up into the tree once. I didn't think they were going to come down at bedtime. It was really scary. Well, I guess it was scary for me. They didn't seem too bothered by it. They do. They like to perch on things. The first batch of chickens we had were Rhode Island Reds, and they were very friendly, and they would actually fly up onto your lap if you were like sitting on the porch. They'd fly right up into your lap, up onto your shoulder, which is a little scary when you see those talons coming your way. They're pretty big birds. A little gray for the bike chain and the gears here. Okay, and you can see how that really stands out against that background. Okay, so for the basket, I am going to go in first with like kind of a shadow color. I'm going to go in with this kind of terracotta color. Not too much, just a little bit. And I'm also going to do this on the pot while I have it. Underneath a little ridge there, around the bottom, and the sides. Get the sides up here. And then I'm going to go with little pressure on top of the highlight areas. Now I'm going to go in with this yellowy ochre color, and this is a nice opaque one, so you can see it really blends nicely in with the color I laid down, and it really blocks out the stuff in the background, any of the ink that we've inked already. I can also give some of this yellow to my chicky poo up here, put some in the terracotta pot. This is just a great color for adding opacity. Plus, if you use the same color here and there, you give it a lot of dimension. And I'm going to put some yellow, some brighter yellow in my little chicken. These little chicks a little yellow too. Yellow tends to be opaque, so it can really help these guys stand out. All right, and I think I might do a little bit of this henna color on my chicken because I had Rhode Island Reds and they were really this kind of rich, deep brownish red, and a red comb to really make it look like a chicken. Okay, I want to do a little bit more on this pot here. I am going to get some nice fuchsia color for these and put a little yellow in the middle here. And now I want to do some shading, so I'm going back to the blacks. I've already used that in the tires, and I'm going to give it some shadow into the plant pot, shadow into the tires, shadow into my little chicks. I don't think I'll put the pig in this one because that's probably a little much, actually. Okay, and I think maybe just do a little bit of green here and there, just kind of ad-libbing a little green, freehanding in a little bit of extra greenery there. I'm not using that many colors. I'm just kind of trying to reuse them as much as possible. Okay, now I did this when I took the mask off the last time, but I think it probably makes more sense to do it with the mask on, maybe? Just adding some accent lines around the borders. I don't know, maybe it's better to do that after I take the mask off. Well, yeah, you know what? I've got a pretty steady hand. I'm going to do that after I take the mask off. So this is what we have so far. I think that's really, really pretty. Take my tape off. I don't need that. So something I did on the other one, I just liked having some accent lines just to kind of help build that frame, help crisp it up. And it will also, if you did make any mistakes when you were stamping, if you got any smudges under your mask, that will kind of make them disappear. Our little scene frame there. Oh, I think that's cute. You can also add some white highlights if you want to. If you feel like you need to make anything stand out, you can do that. Oh, I think I want some yellow in those guys too. Helps those colors just really stand out, especially next to the purple. Okay, so now for the frame. So we've got that. You can leave it like that. That's really pretty. But I thought it was pretty to also do like a stamped frame. So I'm going to show you how we did that. So we're going to take that middle part that we cut out of this. We're going to take the middle part, right? We're going to set that right on top. You don't really need to stick it down. You could if you want, if you had some like some double-sided adhesive, but we are going to use that. We don't need that on just yet, but you want it handy. We're going to do some stamping on the perimeter. And I'm going to start with my big rose stamp here. I am going to just stamp it here and there, and I'm just turning it as I go because I don't want to have all my roses lined up. If they're in a bush, they're all like random. And then I'm going to go in with my smaller rose. I'm going to go in with some of that fuchsia color. I'm going to stamp it, stamp it, stamp it, stamp it. Oops, that's purple. That's not what I meant to do, but I think we'll be fine. Stamp it, stamp it. Know what color you're using before you stamp it on your paper. There's a good tip for you. Alright, that's fine. And now we're going to go in with our big rose leaf. I'm going to use a combination of colors. I've got this bamboo stock that we've used. I can use the background color. Oh, that's pretty. That's actually not that different from the bamboo stock. I can also add a little cottage ivy in there. Just kind of turning it a little bit. I want to make sure that the stem is going to be coming from off of the paper. That's the only thing. The thing with dye inks, I'm going to show you, one of these is blue and one of these is green, and it's really hard to tell the difference a lot of times if you're just glancing because they all look very close to black. It can be very tricky to get the right color when you're stamping. When you're stamping with dye-based inks. With pigment inks, you can see the color really well, and that's one of the ways I tell people to tell the difference is if they can really see their colors on the ink pads well, they're probably using a pigment ink. And here I'm using this Potter's Clay to do some branches. I love that you can get like a French countryside, like French market scene look with these stamps, especially if you pair them with the unmounted stamps that Rubber Stamp Tapestry sells. This is turning into a full-blown stamp school, isn't it? I got our little rogue purple guys there. Oh, teachable moments, right? You know? See, those inks are hard to tell apart sometimes. Alright, I think that's, well, now that's enough branches. Okay, so now we're going to put this guy back on here, and we are going to go with our ink brush for pink. And we are going to ink her up. We're going to just try to ink close to the, because we're going to use 2 colors, so try to ink close to your frame mask here that I'm holding. Ink close to that pink. You can even pinch your bristles if you feel like you're going too far out to the edge. And honestly, you can be rough with these brushes. The older they get, the better they work usually, so I'm just going. You hear that? Really just kind of stippling down with those. And now I'm going to grab the green, pinching my brushes a little bit, my bristles a little bit, inking the edges up here, especially where I have the, oops, I just got into the blue. Let me pounce that off. See, I knew they're very close. I get myself into trouble sometimes. And you could go into the colored pencils if you want to enhance any of the roses on the border. I didn't do that, but that is an option. So the colored pencils are a great way. They're inexpensive. And they're a real simple way to get yourself out of some predicaments when you are stamping. And there you have the final card. I think it's really fun. It's one layer. It's just stamps and ink and blenders. I mean, that's all you need, and a couple colored pencils. You can totally do this, and I do hope you try it. I want to thank you so much for watching today. Don't forget the big sale over at Rubber Stamp Tapestry, 40% off of 90 of their stamp sets, plus 35% off crafting goodies. And if you use the coupon code FREESHIP, your order over $75 will ship for free, and all of the Frugal Crafter fans will get a free mistletoe stamp in their order. So go check it out, and until next time, happy crafting.